Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, offering convenient delivery and free pickup to help with the busy times this holiday. Online customers enjoy the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Get started in the Safeway app or at Safeway.com.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Tonight's moon isn't any old full moon. It's the last supermoon of the year, and it's called the cold moon, which feels pretty appropriate given this week's weather. While supermoons themselves aren't that rare, having several in a row is. This is our third straight supermoon, and the streak isn't even over yet. The first full moon of 2026, on January 3rd, will also be a supermoon that'll make it 4 in a row. So werewolves, rejoice! Your year's off to a howling start. I'm Arlo Pérez Esquivel. Coming up, hundreds of thousands of Coloradans are scrambling after Trump revoked their legal status.
So it's a very weird time to be a lawyer, and it's hard to explain this to our clients.
Plus, gas prices, train derailments, and story updates. We'll tell you what you need to know from around the state.
We've unfortunately done a fair number of plane crashes, but the train is a first.
Then, a young Coloradan shares his passion for civics in a national contest.
The more we care about civics, the more we care about our society as a whole.
It's Thursday, December 4th. Here's the news in Colorado today. President Trump's decision to end temporary protected status has left thousands of Coloradans scrambling, specifically immigrants from at least 9 countries. Trump has effectively revoked the legal status for entire groups of people, something we haven't seen a president do in nearly 4 decades. CPR's Allison Sherry spoke with Venezuelan immigrants across the state. She asked, what comes next? Allison, remind us what temporary protected status is. I'm interested how someone entering the U.S. would get it.
Well, it's a blanket category, basically, that gives people protection from detention and deportation for a temporary period of time granted by the U.S. government. Temporary protected status is something that has been given historically to people coming from countries with problems, right? It could be civil war, it could be an environmental disaster, it could be a health epidemic, things that make it dangerous or even impossible for people to return to their homes in a safe way. It always covered people who were already in the country at that moment. So it wasn't like, oh, this country is in the middle of this conflict, you can now come and get it. It had to be for people who were already here. You also have to have no criminal record. You have to submit to background checks, fingerprinted annually. You have to pay a fee for all that. And then you get a work authorization. Okay, so it's not an open invitation. Who has lost TPS during this year? Right. So what is newsy about this is that Trump has abruptly just canceled TPS for people from Afghanistan, Cameroon, Somalia, among others. But the biggest group by far are Venezuelans. More than half of people in the country with TPS are Venezuelan. There are about 1.3 million total people with TPS in the United States. About 650,000 of them are from Venezuela. You talked to some of the Venezuelan immigrants in Colorado who had their status revoked. What did they tell you? Yeah, I spoke to a few people. None of them wanted to use their names, understandably, because now they are subject to detention and deportation. But one couple in particular really illustrates what it's like right now. You know, they came to the United States in 2019 on a visitor visa after the wife was threatened at her job in Venezuela. She worked for a municipal police department. They quickly applied for asylum when they got to the United States. When Biden granted TPS a couple of years later for the first time to Venezuelans, they applied for that and they got that additional protection. So they began working in restaurants, and eventually, over 6 years, they were able to buy a house in the Denver suburbs.
Mira cómo estamos, llegamos aquí en la casa de una amiga y ya tenemos nuestra casa.
Look how we are. We arrived here in a friend's house, and we already have our own house, and that's achieved with the work and the opportunities this country gives you.
You know, and through the years, they've raised their kids. They have a son, and now he's on a full-ride academic scholarship at CU Denver. But because their TPS status has been revoked, the family obviously now is at risk of being detained and deported by ICE.
I mean, when you listen to them and that pride of being able to afford their own home here, it really sounds like they put down roots in Colorado. Do they have any legal recourse? Is there a way for them to stay in the U.S.?
So Trump actually announced he was ending TPS for Venezuelans back in January, but that was blocked by a federal judge in California. Then it was later upheld by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. But then when it went to the SCOTUS, they issued from their so-called shadow docket a one-paragraph order that basically said it would be very harmful for this administration to follow what the California courts had said. Here's Jessica Bonsall. She's an attorney who represented hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans in that original California case.
So it's a very weird time to be a lawyer, and it's hard to explain this to our clients. Like we won, you know, like we win at the district court, we win at the Ninth Circuit, and then we have a one-paragraph order. There's no reason. The case isn't over, but you have no protection. It's just a weird situation.
So now it is revoked, but it will eventually have to go to a full Supreme Court panel, and they'll hear oral arguments about what the power of the president has over TPS.
As we mentioned before, hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans are living here because of TPS. Can they now be expelled while the case plays out?
Yeah, I mean, they could be subject to detention without warning, even if they continue to follow all the rules. All of the people I spoke to in my reporting have pending asylum claims, which allows them to keep working, and they should have some protection from immediate deportation right now, although I know people who've been deported who had a pending asylum claim, so there's not really any guarantee. So when I talked to that couple, you know, they are freaked out.
Vienes huyendo de una parte donde no puedes estar. Ahora llegas a un país donde al parecer tampoco puedes estar.
You come fleeing from a place where you can't be, and then you arrive in a country where it seems like you can't stay either. And then you don't have a country you can safely go back to.
But it was interesting because they had this note of gratitude at the end of this interview about this country, which you don't hear much right now when doing immigration reporting.
Pero si tengo que irme, me voy a ir agradecida con este país, agradecida con...
If I have to leave, I will leave grateful to this country and grateful to God for allowing me to be here as long as I've been here.
CPR's Allison Cherry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Colorado is currently one of the cheapest places in the country to fill up your gas tank. Prices at some gas stations in Metro Denver are right now well under $2 a gallon. It's like a flashback to another decade. So what's going on? Denverite's Kara Damari is reporting on this lucky price drop just in time for the holidays. Hey there, Kara.
Hi, Arlo. It is good timing. The average price of a gallon of regular gas in Colorado is now just $2.49. That's the second cheapest in the nation. Only Oklahoma has cheaper gas right now. We're paying 50 cents a gallon less than the national average, which is just under $3. That's according to the company Gas Buddy, which tracks prices at gas stations across the country. And if you live in the Denver area, several gas stations are now selling regular unleaded for $1.78 per gallon. It's been well over 2 decades since that was the usual price.
So how much might the average driver be able to save right now? Does it really make that big of an impact on their budgets?
Well, that of course depends on how much they're driving and what kind of gas mileage they get, but for some perspective, let me hit you with some averages. The average commuter drives more than 1,000 miles per month, and at the higher end, let's say 1,200. If they get an average of 25 miles per gallon and they pay the current average cost of gas in Colorado, then they'll be spending around $125 to fill their tank this month. That's $35 less than they had to spend driving the same amount earlier this year when gas was well over $3 a gallon.
Okay, but that hypothetical savings only works if prices stay low for a whole month. What's driving the low gas prices, and will they stick around for a while?
So going back to Gas Buddy, their analysts say they do expect we'll see lower gas prices for at least several more weeks. They say prices are falling nationally thanks to supply and demand. There's more crude oil on the market this month. Locally, one of the reasons for some of these really unusually low prices, like those we're seeing in some parts of Denver, is competition. Some new gas stations have opened up, and they're offering big discounts to introduce themselves to customers.
Thanks, Kiara. Now from cars to trains, and specifically a train transporting coal in western Colorado that derailed late Tuesday night and ended up in the Gunnison River, south of Grand Junction. Mesa County Search and Rescue volunteer Nicholas Ingalls was part of the rescue effort to get the train engineers out safely. He told us that the call was a bit of a surprise.
This time of night in this kind of season, generally it's hunting or hikers just with the snow, and saw train derailment and caught me off guard for a second.
The search and rescue team used a specialty vehicle that can drive on train tracks, referred to as a high roller, in order to get to the rural part of the county where the train derailed. They found 2 engineers trapped inside the locomotive, but fortunately not in the river as they'd feared.
They couldn't get out of the train because that door had kind of crushed and buckled in. Then also, it was a fair distance above the floor of the train. They were very cold. They were definitely, mildly hypothermic. Once we made contact and actually managed to start talking to them, that was kind of the primary concern, is getting them out and then just getting them warm.
The engineers were rescued safely. The derailment did cause some of the diesel fuel to leak into the Gunnison River. Cleanup is underway, according to Union Pacific. We also have an update to a story we brought you yesterday about Colorado's top wildlife official stepping down. If you remember, Jeff Davis resigned as the director of Colorado Parks and Wildlife to take on a new position as a senior policy advisor within the Department of Natural Resources. At the time, the department did not give any reason for his move. This week, 9 News reported that it obtained a settlement document showing that Davis agreed to resign instead of being terminated. The document did not include any reason why he might be let go. When CPR asked the department whether Davis was at risk of being fired, a spokesperson did not directly address the question, but said in an email that they are delighted Davis will continue to work for the Department of Natural Resources in a new capacity. And now, a short lesson in civics from a group of young Americans.
Civics is the future.
Civics is an informed citizen.
How you can be an amazing citizen in your community.
Civics means the ability to stand up for what's right.
Civics is essential.
Civics is life-changing.
39 students from around the country showed off their civics prowess in the nation's capital during the 2025 National Civics Beat Championship last month. That included a 14-year-old from the Boulder area.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cameron Parker, and I'm representing Colorful Colorado.
A freshman at Centaurus High School in Lafayette, Parker won local and state competitions to qualify for the National B, where he finished in the top 10. In an interview with Colorado Matters, Parker says he's still processing it all.
Yes, shell shock from the whole thing.
To land a spot in the finals, Parker submitted a proposal with definite real-world impact. It's an app to ensure that people get alerts when they're in the path of a climate disaster, an idea rooted in his personal experience growing up in Boulder.
The problem that I identified was that in the Marshall fires and other fires in the U.S., evacuation alerts weren't always received. Before the Marshall fires in 2021, I assumed that if there's a wildfire, just like everyone would get the evacuation alerts. And it was kind of a rude awakening when my dad didn't get the alerts. So that was my problem. And then my solution was to create an app that would provide evacuation alerts to anyone, like no matter the circumstances.
Parker says information is essential to, quote, pretty much everything. And at the finals, he told judges that his app is more than just a matter of safety. It's a matter of justice.
It supports the core values of our nation. This supports your right to security, given under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Your right to life, given under the Declaration of Independence. This supports equality. This supports prudence. This supports the idea of our government as a whole to protect the citizens, we, the people. Let's not rely on phone calls and Facebook to ensure our safety. Thank you.
The judges had some tough questions in return.
If you were given, say, a small amount of $5,000, how might you use that to begin the effort of building the momentum that you know you need to achieve this end.
You talked a little bit about government, but I wonder what business partnerships could look like in this solution.
Cameron, could you identify more specifically what nonprofits and community organizations that you might enlist?
But Parker's been thinking about the answers to these type of questions, not just to try to win the contest, but because he hopes to raise enough money to make this app a reality. He's already taken the idea to Lafayette City Council and to the State House, where he spoke to the state Senate President, James Coleman.
I think this has kind of opened my eyes to the realm of politics, and that it's kind of more than the headlines say, like toxicity in government and people kind of going at each other with their ideas and their values. The side that I'm starting to see is like the cooperative side, where people work together to create solutions instead of debating and arguing. So I have considered running for office, maybe.
Additional reporting for today's show came from CPR's Anthony Cotton, Sandy Batulga, and Tom Hess. Don't forget to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, offering convenient delivery and free pickup to help with the busy times this holiday. Online customers enjoy the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Get started in the Safeway app or at safeway.com.